Great. Bienvenidos. Welcome again to another live stream or live show, an interview with one of our Contabi members. We are so happy that you can join us today. As previously, we are Contabi Alliance. We are a membership group of incredible accounting professionals all across the United States and all across the world, coming from several countries, over 11 countries so far, that are joining together to make sure that we continue to lift and uplift each other and create a platform for all of these amazing accounting professionals to continue to grow and also be recognized throughout the entire accounting industry as it goes. I would love to invite every single one of you that is interested in this content or is looking for more. Please feel free to visit our website. It's contabialliance.com, where you can find information about becoming a member of Contabi or just being able to support others like ourselves that are really growing and making sure that we are allowed to continue to flourish within the accounting industry. Today, I'm really, really happy to be able to interview Maria Morales. So I'm going to bring her up to stage. Maria, welcome to our Contabi Alliance Cuéntame series.
Thank you for having me on the show today. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, Maria. Well, we've known each other for quite some time, but I wanted to make sure that everybody gets a chance to know who Maria is, her quirks, her likes, her dislikes, and also her experiences within the accounting industry as well. But why don't you start, Maria, and telling us a little bit about yourself?
Definitely. So I'm Maria, and I work with Acuity. I've been in the accounting world for probably about 4 years, and I've got into the accounting world actually by somebody Will Lopez, who is the head of the Gusto accounting platform. And so prior to the accounting world, I have always been into the sales side of things. And so I did automotive sales for 11 years. And so it's kind of my thing that I love to do is kind of talk to clients and customers and get to know their wants and their likes and help them out in any way I can. So a lot of that just kind of originated from that, but that also kind of comes like from our family history, right? So my dad and my mom were very big entrepreneurs and very big in sales and owning their own businesses. So a lot of that comes from that history of that aspect for me. So.
Nice. So when you mentioned family, can you share with us, if you feel comfortable, like your cultural background? What communities do you come from? What do you attach yourself to when it comes to like países?
Okay, perfect. So my dad is Puerto Rican and he comes from Guayama, Puerto Rico. And my mom is from Chihuahua, Mexico. So I'm half Mexican, half Puerto Rican. So you can call me like Mex-Rican if you want, if that's the case. So I was born in Hollywood, Florida, which is just in Miami area. But we grew up in a very small town called Clewiston, Florida, which is very, very tiny, just south of Lake Okeechobee. And so when people kind of figure out like who I am as a person and they ask me, I'm Mex-Rican, or some people would say I'm redneck Mex-Rican because of the fact that I grew up in the South. So, and I do a lot of like Southern things, I guess you could say, completely different from my brother Will. So I would say
that's debatable.
I feel like growing up, I've, was very diverse with a lot of our friends and family. So I grew up a lot with my Puerto Rican side of the family than I did on the Mexican side of the family. My dad's 90, so he just turned 90 in October. And so a lot of his family is here in South Florida as well as in New York. And so my mom's family's in Mexico. And they're kind of like Texas and Colorado and Arizona spread out a little bit. So we kind of grew up with a lot of my dad's side of the family. And I would say that I feel like growing up, I had a bit of a culture of both because my mom's sister was local to us as well. So I kind of got the aspect of both, the Mexican side and the Puerto Rican side. But I would say that, I kind of consider myself the same, so we had diverse of, Cubans and Salvadorians, as well as a couple of Guatemala friends and families that were there locally in the Clewiston area, because it's a very diverse little city and town.
Nice. So growing up, you had, it sounds like a lot of different influences from all different places. What,
Yeah.
like, what was your, like, your starting point in terms of education? Like, where did you kind of like veer to and then get into sales and then get into the accounting sales or like service aspect? How did that kind of route and originate?
Yeah, great question. So I would say that kind of growing up, again, my dad was a huge entrepreneur, and so was my mom. And so they kind of owned, furniture business, and they used to sell a bunch of things. And so I watched that growing up. I probably had my first job when I was 13. And I kind of got into a furniture store. And so I was kind of like tagging furniture, and then I would start talking to customers then when I was like 14, and I started to sell a couple of furniture, to clients that would come in. And from there, I realized that was my niche. Like, I love talking to people and just kind of finding out what they liked. And as I got older through high school and I was in ninth or 10th grade, I actually got into the real estate world. And I did property management and escrow managing. So I kind of worked with QuickBooks back in the day, but it was like desktop version. And so I was kind of helping clients get into houses and rental companies throughout my life there. And then shortly after that, when I turned 18, I thought real estate was the way to go for me. And my world was different after that. I was a young mom, and so I got into the automotive industry. And from there, I started to sell cars, and I worked up the ladder into a finance manager, BDC manager, and just kind of did a lot of sales through there. And I did that for a very long time, and I loved it. That was just kind of my passion for a while. And then Will owned AdvisorFi, and he kind of needed some assistance there and kind of brought me into the accounting world and taught me a little bit about bookkeeping. And I always had a vision for AdvisorFi, was like, how do we upsell, and we talk to clients and kind of create like technical or tech stack apps for them and just kind of find what's best for them. And when Will kind of moved over to Gusto, I transitioned over to Acuity, which was a great fit in the sense of customer success in their department there. And so I originally started off on the sales side for SDRs and just kind of bringing in inbound and outbound sales. Then I transitioned over to customer success, and we started to implement a little bit more of the upsell process, which is what I've started doing for the last, I would say, a little over probably about 15 months now. And that whole process has like blossomed and boomed internally with Acuity, and I'm loving every bit of that.
Which brings a good point to that. Made a transition to what general people think, like in the sales, it's always like a negative connotation to car salespeople or just like the car industry.
Yeah.
But you've had experience within the accounting firms and upselling, and also just the retention value of the CX or the customer support side. Can you talk about some of the challenges possibly that you face, or maybe some of the similarities that you've seen within the industries that has helped you continue to flourish and also help expand Acuity's like threshold on that?
Yeah, definitely. I would say some of the challenges, I see in the customer success side and upsell side is just kind of clients not knowing, what platforms are out there, what technical apps are out there. They're not up to date with that. And so I see a lot of the struggle there as to, what's best for their business. Sometimes they quickly just add specific things and different platforms for bill pay or invoicing services. And they don't realize that there's other possibilities and other technical applications out there that can probably better assist their business and just kind of simplify things. And that's kind of where Acuity's customer success team and their upsell team, what we kind of do internally is to kind of, right size to size the business and kind of figure out, what systems do they currently have? What are their hangups and struggles internally, and see how we can fix that and how we can implement that. But a biggest thing too, in the upsell side and kind of teaching our customers internally is product training. I do a lot of product training with our clients to kind of make sure that they understand the platform, because that's probably a bigger struggle, is that we can implement, QuickBooks and Xero and Bill.com and Gusto and Rippling and so on and so forth. But if the customer doesn't know how to work the system, there's always going to be hangups there. And so that's kind of where a lot of my upsell transition comes into play, where not only am I implementing good technical apps for their business and setting that foundation for a strong business. But I'm also teaching them how to use the platforms, even if they're not the ones that are going to be working in it and our bookkeepers are, or our controllers are doing that. I like them to know how to use the system if they ever had questions. And
no, that like sounds makes sense to me. It's always whenever you start with the business. So when they're coming over to Acuity, you guys do an analysis. You kind of read the room per se, right?
Mhm.
Like, what are your like pitfalls? Where are your challenges here? So let's pick out the perfect fit in terms of systems and integrations in place. But we both know that businesses grow, they
Mhm.
change, they modify. It's the same, it's not the same business from when they sign up or when they continue to go on board, maybe 3 months, 6 months, 9 months down the road, because they've either added employees or they've, signed a huge contract. Now they have more revenue coming in. So the business keeps growing. So as you give them like this perfect fit glove in the beginning, they start to wear down that glove, and that glove doesn't start being more of a fit. So I'm assuming that that's exactly where you come in, and your team, the team comes in that you work for, which is essentially just continue to make sure that that fit of a glove stays perfect along their route and along their journey. And I think that's a huge, huge added benefit. What do you think, or do you think that that's a challenge for many firms out there? Do you think many firms are doing that? And if they're not, what would you say to them to like, hey, maybe you should consider doing these 2 or 3 things to get started to actually pay attention to that?
Yeah, definitely. Those are great questions. I don't know if a lot of firms are doing that, but I think that's a vision for the future for, cloud accounting, is to kind of take a team that can kind of come in and just see, again, like you mentioned, if that glove is fitting from when they originally started. Businesses do grow. And, I think that moving forward, we think of it as like accounting used to be a historically just kind of like a service industry. But I think like moving towards like a tech-minded mentality of customer success, that's kind of where they would come in. And I feel like implementing that department into their business, into their firm, will kind of build rapport with their clients, and making sure that they feel like they're being listened and they're heard, and they're not just being billed for specific services that no longer utilize or no longer fits their model anymore. And so that's kind of my vision and our vision at Acuity, is to kind of go back through and take, a lot of our clients and see where they stand currently, and just kind of re-envision their business and say, okay, you've grown from day one to now, and let's take now going forward to see exactly where you stand, and just kind of implement new platforms.
That sounds great. And from the experience that you told me in the past, working within the finance team on a dealership, financing is not easy. There's multiple parts associated to actually you signing a contract and agreeing to a number to actually drive off of the lot to be able to do that. Similarly, in the accounting field, when it comes to implementations and integrations, there's a whole slew of options. What's helped you, Maria, like during these years to really get yourself up to date and connected and just like know what's happening with all the technology that's out there?
Definitely. I would say certifications through all of the platforms. So kind of having a good relationships with our partners, and just kind of meeting with them either on a monthly basis and just being certified in those, as well as going to some of the conferences that we go through, like XeroCon is one. And so, QuickBooks Connect. And so just kind of staying up to date with everything. And one of the things that I love about product training is that it teaches me to kind of constantly go through each product every time and just kind of see all of the up-to-date information, because not everything is always advertised or brought out, that there's new implementations in the system. So me having to do product training, I get to see new things that are always kind of being added through the system, and it allows me to just kind of learn. So it's just kind of constantly taking some time to just review every system over and over again, at least once a month.
Yes, I think the best the best thing to happen is that you consistently have new changes and new features to products, and your clients just never know about it because you guys are doing your job, which is causing that seamless transition. Now, professionally, obviously, there's a lot of growth opportunities. There's a lot of training that needs to be involved, like you just mentioned. How about on the personal side? What kind of challenges have you faced kind of getting to where you're at that other people can probably relate to?
I would say the fact that I have no degree in accounting. So I, again, as I mentioned, kind of growing up through my education, going to high school in Clewiston and kind of graduating from there. I did some college, and from there I became a mom really quick. So I would say that through my life in the workforce, that's always been a challenge, is not having the degree, but kind of showing the effort and just quickly learning and just putting my mind to everything and just kind of teaching myself along the way has always been, a good thing and a bad thing at the same time. So in the accounting industry, I was determined to learn what it was like to be a bookkeeper, or what to know the difference between accrual and cash-based level, and just kind of learn the ins and out of the industry. And so I would say just the fact that I don't have the degree for that is kind of like a hang up. But I would say that over the years, it's been super easy just to kind of self-teach and learn and listen to people, including yourself, and just listen to people talk, and just kind of learning everything along the way.
Well, you've been a quick study, and I think one thing that's undervalued in the accounting industry is just being able to have like that people or that human education, which is how to treat, how to communicate, how to really have these like human conversations, that it's much needed on the customer experience side.
Mm-hmm.
So although the accounting like vocabulary or vernacular isn't there, what you do have, and I think that you've learned through all those transactional sales within the sales pieces that you've done, is how to deal with humans.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk a little bit about that? How is Acuity and the team Acuity, how are you humanizing the entire process to kind of separate yourselves from the normal CPA that people think like, oh, that's my accountant out there that, crunches numbers on a 9-pad or and does all this basic stuff? Like, what makes Acuity and the team that you work for different?
Definitely. So I would say that a lot of us, we do a lot of video conference, and that's kind of one of the biggest things that we try to make different, is to always at least meet with our clients virtually, but not just go in straight into business talk. I'm really big on getting to know our clients, even if I haven't met with them yet. I love to kind of get to know who they are and how they're doing, and just kind of talk on a personal level. Through this whole COVID transition, there's a lot of companies like us that are used to being home, working from home on a cloud accounting, and there's other companies that are not accustomed to that. And so, that this year has been a really hard transition for a lot of our clients, and just kind of being personal with them, and just getting to know, how they're struggling with all of it, and just getting to know their likes, their wants, and, foods that they like. And, we do talk about ethnicities and backgrounds, and people always try to guess what I am, and which is always really funny. We just kind of sit and we, getting to know them prior to jumping into the business side of things is something very important, not only to me, but I feel to our clients as well, because it builds that rapport to them. And just, having fun and being silly, and not the whole conversation has to be business related. It could be something goofy along the way. And that's just kind of how I see that.
That's awesome. I also think that you bring a good personality to everything that you do and that I've been a part of, but it's also, it could be most likely reflected in the work that you do when you're talking to each client that's out there. And I think that's a good reflection of bringing something new and something more modern to the table with the Acuity's team. Because like I mentioned, most people think of our accounting service or accounting firm as just very like, just transactional, just one by one, piece by piece. And it's really more color to that. So I think that's what helps in terms of what you guys are doing. Can you talk to me a little bit about just the transition that you've been able to do within the customer experience side? How has that led to clients maybe providing more services or using more services with Acuity? And how do you go about kind of understanding their needs?
Yeah, great question. So currently, a lot of that process internally is just from the bookkeeping standpoint or controller standpoint, where a lot of clients kind of express needs to them, and they turn around and reach out to customer success. From there, I take those needs and wants and I listen to them there. But when I meet with the client, I turn around and just kind of express that here's what I've heard that you're looking to accomplish. What are your hurts and hangups? Like, what are you struggling with? And I try a lot to not just focus on the one main area. I try to also cover different aspects, if it's payroll related, bookkeeping platform, if it's bill pay or invoicing. And so I just try to go through each and every section of their business, and see, where their strengths are and where their weaknesses are, and see where we can kind of implement Acuity at, and how we can help internally to kind of alleviate some of their stress.
And success doesn't just come for you in the professional world. I think I saw somewhere that you've had some success on the soccer field as well with one of your little peoples, right? So can you talk about that? Like, how has it been being able to juggle like the work-life balance, right? Working remotely, and everything that you do.
Man, it's definitely been a struggle, so I have 3 kids. I have a 14-year-old daughter who's in high school, and then I have a 13-year-old who's in 8th grade, and then a 11-year-old who's in 6th grade. And so 2 of them are very sportsy. So my 11-year-old plays for the city, and yes, we're very competitive. I coached our 12-year-old boys, and we won probably 8 games out of 11. And so it was really nice. We won kind of our championship there. And I would say it's kind of, being in the cloud accounting world, being able to work from home and kind of create your schedule is really nice. So I kind of work early morning to early afternoon once school's out. I deal with soccer, do soccer practice, and then I'm working at night. So I do work quite often. And so, I don't know if I know what sleep is. So
I think that's a common problem with a lot of the members that we do have. There is no like 9-to-5 job in our world, right? Because the work remote life is like, it's a double-edged sword. Some of it is great because you do have the flexibility, but it's also, it always gives you the opportunity, which I think is an opportunity to work whenever you'd like. So if you need to finish something up, whereas in the past, people have to go to an office, have to go to a computer and actually clock in work. Whereas now, for good and bad, you can actually do it from anywhere at any time and point, right? So which is really a great thing to have. Which leads me to the following question. Let's say I have a time machine here, Maria. I have a time machine, and I'm going to put you in the time machine, and I'm going to send you back to like when you were a lot younger. I'm going to let you pick the time, maybe like in your teens somewhere. You're going to go back to your younger self, Maria, and you're going to say like, Maria, I need you to do this. What are the 2 things that you would tell Maria to have a better shot, or professionally, or be in a better world today? Like, what would those 2 things be?
Wow. I would say I would have to go back and tell my high school self that to continue the education inside of the business side of the degree. So like, because we're so business oriented as a family, I would say that if I would have continued my education in business management or in the accounting world, I think that my future self would be a lot more successful currently. I would say that is one. The other one would be kind of just making sure that confidence level is there. Because, us in the accounting world, or just people in general, sometimes we don't have the confidence and that, that passion to kind of be successful there. And I think that along the way, I've grown to be that person. But at the very beginning in my business life, I was not that confident in myself. And so I think those 2 things is kind of what I would tell my old self to.
That's interesting. Nobody has ever said like, oh, I'd give myself a tip on this stock, or I'd buy something like tell them like, I don't know, like bring something of value that later on. Nobody ever says that, which is, I'm still waiting for that first person, by the way. But anyway, it's good to know, right? It's good to know to continue to instill confidence and just motivation. And, what better confidence to see a successful future self be like, hey, you're going to be okay. You're going to be great. You're like, we got this.
Yes.
So that's an awesome piece. Now, you're Puerto Rican and you're Mexican. On the food level, I think I have my answer, but on the food level, like, which one is better?
That's a really, really hard question. I love both. Okay. So like, I do cook both somewhat Puerto Rican food, and somewhat Mexican food, but I would say both are really good. I'm not a spicy fan. So, and I think a lot of that comes because I was more raised on the Puerto Rican side. So I would say both of them are pretty good. There's a lot of things I like for both. I can't say one together.
Very diplomatic answer, Maria. Thank you. I personally prefer the Mexican food. It's just like cultures from all over. Great, great food all around.
Yeah.
But thank you for taking the side, Maria.
I enjoy both, you know. I mean, there's specific things that I do not like on the Puerto Rican side, and there's specific things that I do not like on the Mexican side. So, but you know, it's okay. I still eat pretty much almost anything.
What are your thoughts about like the future of accounting? You mentioned some instances about bringing in more of like that customer experience piece, but where do you see the accounting industry in 5 years? Like, what's that new tool or what's that new trend that's going to be like sweeping the entire accounting industry by storm in the next 5 years?
Wow. I really believe that customer success should be something in the next 5 years added to a lot of firms. I'm really big on that. You know, just because, you know, you can have a great customer success and support team on like the tech and the SaaS model. And, you know, you can apply a lot of that to the service worlds. But a lot of it too is that I feel that, you know, when you implement customer success and you provide value to your clients of, you know, product training and knowledge and the right technical apps, I feel like that in itself will just kind of become a more successful firm, you know, in the future. So I feel like if firms started to implement a little bit more of individualizing customer success into their firm, I think, you know, within a couple of years, that'd be great.
Awesome. And, you know, for those people that are listening that have businesses out there, what are some of the best fits in terms of clients or industries that you guys work with at Acuity?
Wow. I don't know. So I mean, those are great questions.
I guess like what are some of like the common problems or common things that, you know, clients that you guys work with come to you for? Like what problems are you guys finding solutions for on a regular basis? Or what maybe common problems are some of the businesses that you guys are working with right now facing that you guys see on a regular basis?
Yeah, I would say a lot of it is just kind of right now we're seeing a trend with 2020 kind of being COVID related, right? So a lot of it is collections. That's a big one. So a lot of people are having a hard time collecting payments on invoices, and that's kind of a big thing for them. And so, you know, at Acuity, we are implementing new collection services and just kind of adding value there where we can kind of help internally, you know, with our clients to kind of assist in collecting those payments to invoices. So I would say a little bit of like collections as well as, you know, maybe some bill pay services. So I think those two are the biggest ones that we're seeing a little bit of some struggles on our clients.
That sounds like a big problem, right? If you can't bring in the money from all the work that you've done, it's going to be a cash flow issue for sure.
For sure. 100%.
Well, you know what? There's so much that we can discuss like on everything that you've done. I think the one thing that I would ask as a final question is, what is the wackiest or craziest thing that you've ever done in your life that's able to be shared?
Wackiest, craziest thing I've ever done. Wow. So I would say, I mean, it's not really wacky. I don't do a lot of crazy things, but I mean, growing up in Clewiston, we did a lot of mudding and cow tipping. So I would say that cow tipping was probably the wackiest thing I've ever done in my life. I know that sounds crazy, but I would say that's probably the craziest thing I've ever done.
I mean, risk yourself to go push a cow over. I think it is pretty wacky to do.
Yeah, definitely. So.
Well, you know what? Thank you so much for taking the time today, Maria, and just sharing with us and sharing with our audience and also our membership team, just like who you are and everything that you're bringing to the table with Team Acuity. We look forward to hearing about your progress and the continued success that you have. Any final thoughts or any final like notes that you want to say?
No, I just pretty much just keep going forward and listen to your clients and, you know, make adjustments where need to be and just hear them out. They have a lot to say. So.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Maria. And thank you, everybody that was able to join us today with our Cuéntame by Contabi session with Maria Morales from Team Acuity. If you'd like to learn more information about Acuity and their services and their offering, please feel free to go to their website at acuity.co/services. acuity.co/services. And make sure you let them know that Contabi, you heard about them there through Maria and her interview today. We're looking forward to continuing these series and making more happen. I believe we have another one ready for tomorrow. But if you like the content and if you'd like to learn more, please follow us on our YouTube channel, our Facebook stream, our LinkedIn channel, and everywhere else that we actually are, so that you can continue to receive this content directly from Contabi about accounting professionals in the industry, where we're making it happen for them to have a platform to succeed and to grow and to shine within this industry. Have a great rest of your day.